Navia is an interesting character. Like, she doesn't improve the Geo element or anything, but her kit and playstyle is pretty strong. How's it going, everyone? This is Kay, and let's break down the pros and cons of pulling for Navia. Starting with her talents, normal attack is the usual 4-strike attack. She will have Geo infusion for her A1 passive after using her skill, so normal talent is important if you do plan to use her as an on-field carry. Navia's E skill is her most important ability and will be the largest portion of her personal damage. You need to gain bullet stacks to increase her skill's damage by obtaining elemental shards from crystallized reactions. Each shards will give 1 stack with a max of 6 bullet stacks. Using her skill will consume all bullets, and if she uses 3 stacks, it will deal the max number of shard shots, which will also double its base damage. Using over 3 stacks will further increase the skill's damage by 15% per bullet beyond the initial 3 that was consumed. Maxing all 6 stacks is the goal, and you'll have 2 charges, which means you'll need to recharge the bullet stacks after firing once. You can hold her skill, which will have Navia enter in A mode. During this state, elemental shards around the area will be collected. As mentioned, Navia's A1 passive will infuse her attacks with Geo for 4 seconds for each skill use. It's not long, but it can fit within your rotations as long as it doesn't sacrifice DPS from other characters. The passive will also increase her normal attack talents damage by 40%. Her elemental burst is a continuous auto-target attack. The duration is 12 seconds, but its purpose is to give Navia a bullet stack once every 2.4 seconds, which will help max out her skill faster. Her elemental burst will also help trigger crystallized reactions as Geo damage will be constant, helping you obtain even more shards for her skill, so Navia is quite self-sustaining. A4 passive increases her attack by 20% for each Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro character you have on the team, with a limit of 2 stacks. This also leaves 1 extra slot open for a second Geo character, such as Albedo or Zhongli, which provides Geo resonance, while also allowing you to add other supporters like Farina or Bennett, even DPSs like Nuvolette or Linny. In terms of Constellations, I personally would not recommend getting her at higher Constellation levels for gameplay reasons. It's just not worth it, but at C1, for each bullet stack she uses, it'll recharge 3 energy to herself with a max of 9 energy. Her burst cooldown will also decrease by 1 second per stack with a max of 3-second reduction. C2 increases her E skill's crit rate for each stack consumed with a max of 36% crit rate buff. It will also fire off 1 cannon from her burst per skill use. At C4, when her burst attack hits, it'll decrease the enemy's Geo resistance. Finally, at C6, it'll increase the skill's crit damage by 45% per stack consumed that's over the first 3. It'll also refund any bullet stacks that were used beyond the initial 3. So if, for example, you use her skill with 6 stacks, 3 stacks are returned, which means you technically only use 3 instead of all bullets. If anything, her C6 is the most worth it for this character, but overall, it's not worth spending all that money for. So a great thing about Navia is that she can be a quick swap sub DPS character that works well with a lot of different units. You're encouraged to put her with different elements instead of the typical mono Geo team, and she works well with attack buffers like Bennett. As a front-loaded DPS character, she doesn't take up a lot of time within rotations unless you're using her as an on-field carry. So for players who would like to have fun, Navia can be used as a hyper carry since she does have Geo infusion for her normal attacks. Now, as an on-field hyper carry, Navia will not be able to compete with other DPSs we have currently in the game, but it's an option for those who want to have her as a main. She's certainly a great addition as a flexible Geo unit that can be used in duo Geo teams. Before Navia, the best combination we had was basically Zhongli and Albedo that were splashable to different teams, or Noelle to a degree. Characters like Ito or Goro lacks that flexibility, and Yunjin specializes in NA support. Navia doesn't have those restrictions. We're also getting new artifacts, one which is meant for Navia. It increases Geo damage after using an E skill. Having 4 pieces will increase the buff to 50% when you have a shield generated by crystallized reactions. You can also use the Petra set if you want Navia to offer some support to your DPS. The Serpent Spine will also be a great weapon if you already bought the Battle Pass. Above all else, Navia deals a lot of personal damage, and what's great is that there isn't anything too complex to do so because you're not relying on offensive reactions, where for some characters, timing the attack is important. You just build up her bullet stacks, then shoot when ready. Her damage is comparable to some of the best elemental burst or vape reactions. So she's an excellent character to use to add total damage to each rotation, but she does have flaws. As stated before, you can use her as a hyper carry, but if you are in need of an on-field DPS character, there are a lot of better options you can save for. She can fulfill that role within the right teams, but it's not worth sacrificing Primo Gems for. Navia is also better suited for single target battles. She certainly has some AoE and can hit multiple enemies with her skill if they're all grouped together, but in fights where multiple high HP enemies are somewhat scattered in different directions, it can cause some problems. Unfortunately, she doesn't add anything special to the Geo element. Now that's not a flaw to her specifically or anything, but this does mean the weakness regarding the Geo element applies to Navia as well. Geo in general is one of the weaker elements in the game because of its defensive nature, and the shards will not replace healing or shields, and this game heavily favors offensive reactions or elements that enables offensive reactions. What Navia offers will be pure personal damage, no supportive abilities unless you're using the Petra set. So if you're looking for a character to add that raw, high additional damage to your overall rotations, Navia is perfect as she can be used in any open slots within a team, and she's self-sustaining who hits hard. If you're looking for anything aside from that raw damage, there are better options, whether it be for elemental reactions or better supportive abilities. But comment down below to let me know if you're pulling for Navia or are you saving for someone else. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for future Genshin Impact videos. Good luck on your pulls, everyone. Take care.